Hello to you, World, and welcome to my review for The Flash Season 1. I've recently just finished the complete series. The last finale episode was not too long ago, and being the fact the Arrow Season 3 finale finished also, I think it would be a good opportunity to look at the DC universe in a sense, being the fact they're kind of setting up their cinematic universe with Batman vs Superman, with Suicide Squad, and being the fact there's so much Marvel stuff recently as well, with, of course, the recently reviewed Daredevil series on Netflix, which I absolutely loved, and with the Avengers Age of Ultron. I feel we take a good time to take a look at the DC universe and what they're doing, and it seems like they're doing a really good job on their TV front in a sense. CW and the creators and the people behind it and the cast and the directors again behind seem to know what they're doing, and they're structuring it quite well, and I think it's working on TV because it's a bigger expanded medium in a sense. You can do more character episodes, you can go through these certain journeys with characters, then you can do more than I suppose you could do in a 2-hour movie. And I think they've managed to create a formula to make the show work. And the first 3 seasons of Arrow I really did enjoy. I'm going to be talking about that in another video, another point. The Flash is a spin-off from that show, and I'm going to be talking about my thoughts and opinions on the highs and definite lows of the first series of The Flash. So there's a little information and background for you folks if people are not familiar with the character or the show. The Flash originally did have a mini-series back in the 90s, very early kind of superhero TV. It wasn't particularly anything good. I have seen a few episodes here and there. Funnily enough, they did bring back a character from that original series called Mark Hamill, the Trickster. He was a guest cameo in this series, which was really awesome. That series didn't last very long, and it got like what, half a series. Smallville did try and do their own kind of Flash kind of made up character. They didn't get the copyrights, so they just basically used a different character name and basically give them the same abilities. Now we have The Flash, the actual spin-off series. Grant Gustin plays Barry Allen / The Flash. He first appeared in the first 2-part episode within a season 2 of The Arrow, which I thought was a nice introduction to the character, being the fact this was pre-Flash in a sense. This is just him as a kind of forensic scientist, him doing a crime scene within the Starling City, which I thought was a nice introduction to the character. You see him interact with, of course, our superheroes and villains and things like that. I thought it was a nice, cool introduction. Obviously, CW and the creators behind it were thinking, okay, we're going to expand our kind of universe in a sense, and I thought it was quite daring for them to do more stuff in the sense of the idea of metahumans and powers, and that's a very challenging medium to do in a sense. Heroes, I thought was quite an exception. I thought they did it really well considering their kind of studio interference in places. Superheroes on TV, I think it's a fantastic idea to do things like that, but you've got to be careful, you've got to do it in a certain way. And the Flash is a character which, I wasn't familiar with when I first watched the show. Arrow wasn't a character that I wasn't particularly thrilled with. I only saw here bits in there within the Smallville series, and of course reading some comics here and there practically. I thought they did a really good job introducing the character, and I do think the actor does a decent job in creating some good emotions, some tense moments, some jokey moments. The writing it doesn't help him in places, especially throughout this first series, and possibly the way it's filmed and the way it's kind of paced, but I think the actor does a decent job, a decent choice. And the main narrative and themes of the first series of The Flash, basically Star Labs, the Chronicle Accelerator, explodes, creating this kind of ripple effect in Starling City, which basically creates metahumans, what's named in the show, a series of kind of superheroes and villain type characters that basically get abilities through the circumstances they're in. Barry Allen gets hit by lightning, and after a 9-month coma, he wakes up in Star Labs, and basically him and his team of people, including his love interest, former police officer, basically start to help him become the superhero called the Flash. And through this ability, through this kind of speed force, he stops with metahumans and stops crimes and finds out certain things throughout the show, and furthers his ability throughout this entire series. His father got locked away for a murder he did not commit. Basically, his mother got killed by another speed force, another speedster from the future, which we found out is, of course, the Reverse Flash. And through this is his main goal, this is his main theme throughout the 23 episodes, is him to try and find a way of setting that wrong right, to freeing his father and basically getting justice and, you know, saving his mother practically. I think the first series does have many highs and lows. Now I'm going to review this series fairly and honestly as I think possible, being the fact that, you know, someone that I enjoy TV, I enjoy The Arrow, I enjoy Daredevil and a lot of these really cool ideas, and I'm willing to let a few things slide here and there. The first half of the series definitely did not do very well, I don't think, perfectly honest. In terms of like what The Arrow was, in terms of season 2 and the first half of season 3 was fantastic. I really enjoyed the dark, gritty tone, and that could be one of the reasons why, but at the same time, the first half of the series of The Flash didn't know what it wanted to be. You know, it had obvious budget restraints, you know, for a show that's doing superheroes and a lot of CGI and abilities and things like that, you know, your effects have to look really good and have to sell that. And a few episodes it was very dodgy, it was very rubbery and fake, and you know, it didn't look really well done, and I had to kind of like shut my eyes a little bit to kind of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try and let that slide a little bit. You know, I felt some of the villains very typical. I just felt it was very textbook in the way they handled it. Okay, he becomes the Flash, he's a forensic scientist, which is easily forgotten throughout the entire series. We see it in the first few episodes, and then he just kind of like, it's never kind of relevant again within the show. Much like Daredevil, the first series, where he's a blind lawyer, becomes a vigilante. You know, why couldn't there be an episode where he's kind of forensic, you know, real day life skills that's being paid for, he's been paid and known for in the series by other people that don't know he's the Flash? Why can't that be a conflict episode in the sense that he has to use the law properly, then become the Flash? You know, I think they can challenge the character in that way between real grounded world and kind of this kind of, you know, superhero kind of, you know, abilities universe they're trying to set up. I know the show is trying to find itself, but I think that those sort of things can still work, and that makes good writing. The first half of the series, he's going after the metahumans, considering he's trying to like, what, save them or trying to protect them, or, you know, instead of like, you know, saying, oh, you're just a typical bad guy because you're doing this, actually try and figure out why they're doing it. Some episodes they did, and others, and they didn't really, just the writing again just made him, the villains, typical bad guys, which I suppose is fine because you need villains to challenge your superhero character. I thought some villains were better than others. One of the most awful villains throughout the entire series was the kind of the mobster that they turned into gas. I thought that was a shit episode. The idea that Barry Allen, a speedster, is facing a villain that turns into poison gas, I think is stupid. Being the fact he goes up against it and basically he almost dies straight away, which I thought I almost laughed at. And at the end of the episode, he basically stops him by outrunning him, which is really silly, and just he gets tired and he basically puts him in the kind of their kind of, you know, facility prison, which they have in, you know, Star Labs. Very silly. One of the reasons why I wasn't really enjoying it at the time. It's more about, you know, naming our villains cool names. It's about, you know, going around here and there. However, being the fact the first series did have many lows, it did have some good highs. Some of the villains were quite quirky and enjoyable. I thought Cisco's character was definitely enjoyable, and I liked the fact he named, you know, these villains into typical superhero names. Captain Cold definitely was one of the higher villains at the time, being the fact he wasn't a metahuman, he was just a thief. Once it had the crossover event within the Arrow and the Flash series, I felt then it addressed the issues that I had with the show. You know, the Arrow's character, Oliver Queen, came into Central City, basically assisted the Flash on a certain case with Dr. Wells and these other people that are involved, and basically gave them pointers, give them tips, and basically said, you know, you're shit practically, and basically start to train him and basically say, stop taking this like a joke, start thinking tactically. You can't just run into a situation and expect because you've got abilities you're going to save the day. You know, you've got to think about your opponent's weakness, you've got to strategize and basically protect people's lives. And I thought, yes, that's one of the issues I had with the show. The first half of the series was him dealing with these metahumans, but not doing it the correct way. He's always got his ass kicked in the first half, he always made mistakes, and he always managed to stop them in very convenient and very typical ways. And he actually almost did die a few times and actually put civilian lives in casualty. And this is a superhero that I'm trying to root for. And I like the fact that the Oliver Queen's character brought a reality to that scenario, basically said, okay, you've got these abilities, you can do things that I can't do, but you need to think better, you need to strategize, you need to outthink what your villain is doing, you know, and plan the situation better and learn to use your abilities in a different way. And I like the fact they kind of teamed up and they went against each other in certain scenarios, which I thought was quite cool to see who's better in a sense. And I like that. It was a really clever two-part episode, and it made the rest of the series of The Flash much stronger. I thought from then on the rest of the series was much stronger. I was enjoying the episodes a lot more because the writing improved, the budget definitely was boosted up a little bit because the ratings were going a bit higher, and I thought it was a good opportunity for both the Arrow and the Flash series to do more clever stories, expand their universe more, and the fact that you actually saw you know, the Flash do more stuff within the actual series, use his abilities in a more clever way. The Reverse Flash's character was definitely one of the highlights of this series. I thought the actual actor that played him did it beautifully well, you know, aka Dr. Wells, aka Ian Barton, an actual really interesting nemesis, a future villain that basically you know, happens to create, you know, the Flash himself so he can get back home to his own timeline while doing his own kind of evil deeds in a sense. I felt the way they kind of paced him throughout the series was very unmatched. You know, the first episode we found out, you know, he is a villain character. Yeah, the villain is basically helping the hero, yeah, what kind of thing, you know, Lex Luthor type thing in Smallville, very similar kind of scenarios, but I felt they could have boosted that pace up a little bit, they could have found out a little bit more. They did lead to some fantastic episodes throughout the entire series, which is why I talk about the second half being a much stronger series. They set up certain villain characters, certain hero characters, especially towards the end of the series. I thought it was really, really clever, and they really pumped up that ideas of, you know, the Reverse Flash being this kind of nemesis character, and, you know, reveals and twists and found out, which is really cool. Firestorm's another great character I really enjoyed for the series. The love stories in the series wasn't particularly anything special. You know, you got kind of Caitlin Snow with Bobby, aka Firestorm. I thought their relationship, love story connection throughout the first series was very non-existent. I can't really connect with them. And of course, there's another love story in it also, this kind of love triangle between Barry Allen, Irish West, and Eddie Thawne, which I thought was just typical TV, you know, which is a bit annoying when shows have to do this. I mean, I know within every superhero, you know, story or any kind of movie or any kind of narrative, there's always going to be a love story. There's something you can't really escape, but you can do it right. You can challenge that love story. You can do things with it. And I think, you know, the love story they did within the series was very typical. I thought it was just like, you know, okay, whatever. It's just filler moments for the stuff that I actually want to see practically. I really enjoyed the finale. I definitely enjoyed the last two episodes the most. I thought they were really on its high game for sure, and I definitely felt it delivered on what I wanted to see throughout the entire series, and they definitely had some really good heartfelt moments, some good tense moments, and, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do within season 2 and the opportunities that they have. You know, some moments within the series have been pretty lame, and there have been bad written or some dialogue issues or pacing issues or some definitely just bad episodes have been in this series for sure. Now, keeping in mind my actual thoughts and opinions and the negatives and the positives of the entire first series of the 23 episodes throughout the entire run, and in terms of what the show delivered in terms of an audience member, this is my actual final verdict and my rating for the show. I'm going to give The Flash, the first series, a 3.5 out of 5. And that's an honest, fair rating. I thought the Daredevil series definitely was a much stronger series in terms of what they delivered, between the fact it's all instant, it's all in one series. I felt the first series of The Flash definitely struggled in the first half. I felt he didn't know what he wanted to be. He had some bad villains, it had some terrible dialogue, some really bad pacing and issues, but it did pick itself up. It did create some awesome villains. The Reverse Flash definitely made the show even better. The crossovers between the Arrow and the Flash definitely made the show even 10 times better in terms of what it was. You know, Firestorm, the Trickster, there's much more memorable villains and much more memorable kind of, you know, situations within the later series with Captain Cold and all that stuff, and the last half of the series definitely improved what it wanted to be and delivered more emotional episodes, more better character story arcs that I wanted to see within the first half anyway. As my thoughts and opinions on The Flash, the first series. What are your thoughts and opinions, guys? I'd love to know your comments. Please comment down below. So in the meantime, Andrew T, signing out.